Durag Wisdom here, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Earth Date Y2K 19.06.12. Adolf Hitler had the right idea when he pushed to appoint as many judges as possible. Judges who would carry out his plan to wipe out every Jew on the planet, among other undesirables including LGBTQ, mentally challenged, and Jehovah's Witnesses, among others. I think he also didn't like social democrats. For it is in the judiciary that the final words of the law come. And all it takes is a corrupt, murderous maniac to co-opt these courts to change the nature of society for the worse. Case in point is what is now happening in the USA. The Trumpist Party, along with the extremist teabaggers, have been planning it for years, while the Democrats and liberals, in general, dithered. These right-wingers, meanwhile, succeeded in packing the lower courts and our Supreme Court with right-wing religious extremists. And they did this also through denying a sitting president, Obama, the right to pick a Supreme Court justice. Right in our faces, Mitch McDumbell and his Trumpists and teabaggers have staged a coup of sorts so that we can no longer depend on non-partial federal courts. In fact, in a recent Washington Post article, the author contends that the new right-wing courts are going to radically change how we live our lives. They say this change is going to come fast, including possible attacks on our census and on abortion rights. Do not be surprised by all the draconian anti-abortion laws coming in Trumpist states. These right-wing extremist traitors are now sure that they have the kind of justices they need to see their evil agenda pass. Is this how it's supposed to be? Before you are picked to serve on a jury, you are questioned by the lawyers and by the judge to check to see if you will be impartial in your judgment of a case. Why should they even bother when we have allowed a partisan kangaroo Nazi court to come to pass? We've slept too long watching reality TV, and now the country is teetering this way and that on top of the point of the Washington Monument. We must reform our courts and how we choose them. We directly elect presidents, senators, and congresspeople. Why are we not allowed to directly elect federal justices, including those who sit on our Supreme Court? They say that allowing a president to pick justices would stop our federal courts from being corrupt. Keep it out of the corrupt hands of the corrupt voters, right? There's no such thing as a corrupt politician. But our courts are already corrupt. This is already the case. A Republican conservative will not pick a liberal justice, and nor will a Democrat pick a conservative one. When former President Obama picked Merrick Garland, he picked a middle-of-the-road jurist. But that was not good enough for the Trumpist fascists. They worked for years to control the federal benches because they knew that voters had no say in whom a president picks to be justice, except for the notion that voters picked the president who would pick certain justices. I believe that it is time for us, the people, to control who gets into the federal benches with no presidential middle person. All federal justices, including the Supreme Court, should be subject to the vote of the people. Federal justices in the Supreme Court must be held to a judicial code of conduct. Federal justices, including the Supreme Court, should have term limits of 1 10-year term. 1 10-year term. No more of this lifetime crap. Why should politicians and conservative right-wing creeps ruin the rest of people's lives with how they're going to judge things? Look, I'm on my way out. My generation, thankfully, is on its way out. But you young people are going to have to live with this crap that we have wrought for the rest of your lives. And that's the only life you're going to have. Federal justices, including the Supreme Court, should not be allowed to mess with established law, such as the results of Brown versus Board of Education, Roe versus Wade, and the Voting Rights Act. Federal judges, including the Supreme Court, must be impartial. They should be ignoring what their political views are. If a justice cannot be impartial, he or she should not be allowed near the bench. We live in a free country. Putin, Trump, and his Trumpists want to see an end to all of that. And the nefarious plans begin with a federal court system that will back their criminal intent 100%. Unless we wake up and take control of these benches once and for all.